Hello again. Thank you very much for joining me here on Movie Ninja. Tonight I'm going to be reviewing and rating the film Yin Yang Master. Now, this film, what stands out the most to me is the creativity. But before I actually go too far in my just general thoughts, just a quick plot summary. So, in ancient China, long before anyone can remember, the humans and the monsters coexisted. Well, unfortunately, you get some bad influences. We're not any stranger to that, unfortunately, in recent years. So you get some bad influences, and unfortunately, the monster emperor literally got into the heads of all of the monsters. They started harassing and attacking humans, and, well, the humans just weren't having that. So they did the most reasonable thing, which was to chop off the monster emperor's head. This loosened his control over the monster realm. Unfortunately, well, humans and monsters just haven't been on speaking terms ever since that particular altercation. So what happens, we fast forward a little bit. We fast forward to an era where humans and monsters have remained separate for a very long time. Now, in comes our main character, and I wrote a card because unfortunately I am not anywhere close to a good Mandarin speaker or any Chinese dialect for that matter, so I wrote out a card for our main character, who is Jingming. Now, I apologize if I am mispronouncing that name, but so, moving forward. Okay, so our main character, who suffers that he's got dubious genetics, unfortunately, at least in the time that the film is set. And what are you talking about, Movie Ninja? What's up with his parents who were like, well, he is the son of a human and a fox demon. Okay, Naruto fans? Okay, before anyone chimes in, no. Like, okay, before anyone says, no, Naruto did it first. Okay, a lot of folklore that is popularized in Japan, yes, it had its native origins, but a lot of them actually did have mainland origins, namely particularly from China. So, and the film, to be fair, is a adaptation of a series of stories and films called onimyoji, which are referring to Japanese sorcerers that exorcise evil spirits. Any which way, nobody claim anything, okay? Just like, he's the offspring of a human and a fox monster, or a fox demon. The translations have kind of been like a little bit back and forth, but either which way, the main wording that they use in the subtitles is monster, so I'm going to go with that. Anywho, so unfortunately, people treat him like an outsider. It's that old chestnut, isn't it? It's just like, one of your parents is a monster, and so like everybody's like, oh, you're going to be a monster. Ain't that just the way? Aside from that, we actually don't know too much about the character, except it did come across to someone, and it's like, well, there's this half monster kid, and he has a lot of magical potential, so we should probably train him up to, be of service to society. So, as a young boy, he was trained to use magic at the Yin Yang Bureau. Now, because of events that I'm not going into here, because I'm going to try to avoid spoilers as much as possible, unfortunately, he does grow up to be a very talented practitioner. I say unfortunately because people just suspect him all the more of being up to no good, despite the fact that essentially they train him to be part of the magical, like magic cops or magic police or like whatever you want to say, but people that are specifically trained to fight monsters in this world and to just protect humans in general. Well, unfortunately, and this will be one of the few spoilers, unfortunately, Jingming is framed for the attempted theft of an extremely powerful artifact, the Scale Stone, one of the remnants of the monster emperor. And as if that wasn't bad enough, he's also strongly implicated in a number of murders for people who are protecting the Scale Stone. Now, from here, we actually have a very rich and exciting story that mostly centers on the themes of friendship and betrayal. Now, aside from that, that's about as much as I'm comfortable like giving away as it's like right now. What I'm willing to say is that this is very creative and very well thought out. Now, okay, so what we have is a number of characters that we may have seen like a few times in different stories or different series and things like that. You have the outsider who's misunderstood and everybody just thinks the worst of them because of matters well outside of their control. But you have to chase down a few MacGuffins. You have to chase down the Scale Stone. We can't let the monster get the Scale Stone, because if a monster comes into possession of that, they will also at least partially inherit some of the immense power of the monster emperor and possibly destroy all of humanity. But I mean, it's like, that old line, it's like, okay, it's just like, man, we can't just bury the hatchet on this old feud, can we? Monsters versus humans. Go figure. But anyways, a lot of what we have, which in a weaker film could have been seen as, oh, these are stock characters and we're just kind of replaying these, replaying or retreading these same storylines. But I actually liked the way that the film used the ideas in this magical world and playing with the concepts of friendship and loyalty and betrayal. And so we have a lot of good ideas actually put to good use with sort of well-tread, with well-tread themes and tropes. Now, that being said, one of the things that I absolutely love about this film is the magic that is in play. Like, magic should be, and I know this is like, well, I'm about to say the most well-duh statement, but magic should be magical. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, magic, or at least what we assume magic to be, should be very creative, and something that I have seen a lot of, that many fantasy fans have seen a lot of, is that magic only really has maybe two dimensions of purpose, either attack or maybe defend. We have abracazap and shield, and then that's kind of it. But in this film, in this story, we actually see a kind of vibrancy to the magic that the Yin Yang Masters are using and are capable of. You have spatial manipulation, you have transformation, you have illusion, a lot of different aspects of this, which you would imagine, okay, theoretically at least, never used magic myself, so couldn't really say, but theoretically, you should be able to do almost anything that, is limited, it's only limited by your imagination. So, I mean, theoretically, you should be capable of a lot. And that was the thing that I found most surprising, is that, like, it's not just people zapping spells at each other. It's people just being these magicians, these sorcerers, being extremely very creative. Now, aside from the characters, aside from the magic that is being used, also the set design. The set design actually stood out fairly well to me. It reminded me a lot of a Guillermo del Toro production. Specifically, if I'm making a one-to-one comparison, in some areas, it would be Hellboy 2: The Golden Army. Now, that being said, like the troll market in particular, you have a very lived-in world where it's a number of different, non-human creatures, and they're just kind of living their day-to-day life and living and existing, and it feels right. It feels like, okay, like I said, this is very lived in, and it's very well done in that aspect. Aside from that, also there's a lot of action, much more action than I was expecting, especially when we get initially started with a MacGuffin sort of like chase, which admittedly turns into two MacGuffin chases. and then going back and forth with our characters and whatnot. But like from there, I was not expecting as much action as I got. And one of the main villains, the Snow Woman or Snow Monster, as she's mentioned here, uses her abilities in a number of like interesting, surprising ways. Like you've seen X-Men movies, you've seen like a like a lot of media where they showcase that someone has the ability to freeze like people and objects, and yet I'm willing to say that like this particular antagonist, this villainess, uses her abilities in somewhat nuanced fashion, and also very capable with her particular combat style, and it just works extremely well. Now, once again, so like this is not hopefully going to be a hard sell for anyone. If I say anything, something that might turn people off is that there's a lot of ground to cover with the characters, and there's a number of back and forth flashbacks, which usually in films is something that I would say is a detractment for me. But interestingly enough, the flashbacks actually work well with a number of story notes and elements that they use in the third act leading up to the climax. So actually work surprisingly well. So once again, that is just to the credit of this movie. So all this together, the flashbacks and a few other sort of like sometimes the film does come off a little bit busy. Like I said, there's a lot of push and pull with some of the characters, even though it's a very well made and well developed cast. There's a few MacGuffin chases, and so sometimes it can feel a little bit busy, a little bit complicated at times. Also, unfortunately, the runtime is it's just a hair under 2 hours, which I know could be a lot for some folks. I really don't think it's that much, because once the story gets moving, you really don't feel it, thankfully. So, with regards to that, I would say, and I would give a very strong recommendation, a strong rating of 6.5. I think a majority of audiences will enjoy this. It's a fun fantasy adventure. It's a fun fantasy action film, and so I think a lot of people will enjoy it. So that's my review of the Yin Yang Master. If you like the review, please feel free to give it a like. If you would like to help the channel grow, please feel free to subscribe. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.